Cool. Hello, Denimheads, and welcome to the 44th episode of the Sons of Selvedge Podcast. This is a podcast where a group of friends get together to talk about denim, workwear, and related interests. And today we have a very special guest on the podcast, Amy Leverton, who everyone knows as Denim Dudes, a multifaceted, amazing person with like a really incredible denim story. So welcome, Amy. Thank you for jumping on the show.
Oh, geez, that was a really nice introduction. Hi. Hello.
Cool. So I guess it goes long back that I've known you, Amy, from back when you used to pop into Black Horse Lane Ateliers to see Han, and also kind of doing different denim events around London. But I know you're in good old California these days. But I've known you for a long time, but I never really got a chance to ask you your story. Obviously, we all know about Denim Dudes and all the cool stuff you do, but maybe if you could kick it off with an intro of like how you got into fashion and denim in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I grew up in the country. I was born. No, I'm not going to go that far back. But I did grow up in the countryside and was a tomboy. And I think that definitely plays into my story with denim. But I was always into like making and sewing. And I think, like making dolls' clothes and stuff like that, the classic. And then I guess when I hit my teens, I got into fashion and I would get Vogue or the Face magazine or whatever. And I think what's really interesting is then I suddenly wanted to be a designer, sorry, not a denim designer, but a fashion designer. And I think it is that combination of maybe like growing up as a tomboy, riding bikes, climbing trees, and then being into fashion. At the time, I didn't really know. I went to fashion school, Kingston University, and I went to London College of Fashion actually for my foundation year. I thought I was going to design like dresses, I don't know, Max Mara or like Versace or something. And I feel like at design school, you're learning your strengths and your weaknesses and your handwriting. And we did a project, a Levi's project, and I did really well. And even then, it didn't sink in that I was like, oh, maybe I'm a casual wear designer. It's just like I did well on that, that semester or whatever. Oh gosh, that was American language there. What would you call it? That project. And then, I think gradually, like, I was doing more casual wear stuff. And then we were talking about Mawson briefly before the call. I scored a job, my first design job out of uni in, 2003, I think it was, or 4, at Okini. Mm-hmm. And so Mawson Sargid, who I'm sure you all know and the listeners know, was men's wear and I was women's wear at Okini. And for those who don't know Okini, I don't know if does it still exist? I'm not sure if it does.
I don't think so. I remember it was like, it had a moment like kind of early 2000s where like they had all the cool stuff, but I don't think it's around anymore.
I don't think it is. And they definitely switched over from the business model they started in to then like just being kind of a resell, I guess, not a resell, a boutique essentially. Yeah. So just buying and selling. But in like the early noughties, they had a store on Conduit Street and it looked like an art gallery, and it would have like, it was beautifully designed, wood paneled floors and walls. And then they'd just be like one jean hanging and then like some sneakers on a plinth and like, like 4 things in the store or whatever, like very small amount of stuff. And then as a student, I would go in and, we had to do our market research and I was aware of it. But it's a bit of a sad story, actually, because it was founded by 2 dudes, Paddy Meehan and Ben Banks, I think his name was. Ben Banks owned For Marketing, which was more of a marketing company, PR and marketing company. And Paddy Meehan was the creative. And he was great, but very kind of like quiet and shy and not very forceful. And then Ben Banks was more the money dude. And I think it worked for a few years until it didn't. And it was just so ahead of its time in like a bad way, like it just does show you that sometimes getting the timing right, even if you're ahead of your time, it's not always the best idea, because they were online only. So you'd go into the store and you could see things, but then you had to order it online and then it would get delivered to you. So customers already were like, "Bleh, I can't walk out with these sneakers. Like, why?" And then two, it was all collaborations. So like super ahead of its time, you know, it's like where before my time they did a collaboration with Levi's and that was coming out when I started there. But you know, it'd be one of 100, one of 200 pieces, special editions, you know, with we had an ongoing partnership with Adidas. We did stuff with Eversue because they were huge at the time. So it was a really cool concept, but like now we're so used to collaborations and limited edition and
Mm-hmm.
online. But then those three things were just like what and what and what. So it was just it was a great experience because we were way too junior. We were hired too junior. There was no one of any experience really there except for Paddy, but he was more of a creative. He wasn't like a practical guy. He wasn't like he wasn't production, manufacturing, or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. So poor Mawson and I were just chucked in the deep end and got the best learning curve you could get after graduating uni because we were just flying to Hong Kong, going to factories and going, oh, I don't know, making jeans. I don't know. Well, let's go. Let's figure it out. And it was great. It was kind of stressful at times. I remember having a meeting with the team from Dax, you know, the kind of like bit like Burberry, those guys, and just being absolutely slated because Mawson and I went to the meeting. Things were kind of not looking great with the collaboration, and there was no one of any senior management at that meeting, and we were just graduated from uni and like thrown into the fire. And I can't even remember why they were mad with us, but they were mad with us because we didn't know what we were doing. Um, so it was awesome, a baptism of by fire, so much experience thrown in the deep end. And then, of course, the collaborations were essentially like denim brands, you know. So the major turning point for me, we did a collaboration with Duffer St. George
Mm-hmm.
to do the ultimate t-shirt, the ultimate sweatshirt, the ultimate jean. I had never heard of Cone at age 23 or 24. I think I was 23. But the Duffer St. George guys were like, there's this mill in America called Cone. We want to make a selvage jean with them, limited edition. It was so funny because it was a yellow selvage, and so it didn't really show up. Like this yellow thing, it was just like, oh shit, we definitely picked the wrong color. But Mawson and I got to literally like fly to Greensboro in North Carolina, meet with a legend, Ralph Tharp. And it was like a 3-day denim course. You know, got to tour this legendary mill whilst learning about, you know, spinning and weaving, the whole process from beginning to end. Spent time with this guy, Ralph, who was sort of, I guess at that point, like in his late 50s, who spent a lot of time with us, kept us under his arm and, you know, taught us a huge amount. And I was hooked, right? Like you don't come back from that and just go, oh yeah, I'll probably just get into jersey now, or I'll just design dresses. It's like, what? Like denim is insane, you know? So I remember distinctly that was a real pivotal moment where I was like, there's so much to learn. And I think for anyone that's addictive, you're kind of like, I'll never become a true expert. There's just so much here to learn. You know, that's just, I don't know. I think for everyone, that's like I don't know, like a red flag to a bull kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the early days.
One thing that's really cool is obviously we interviewed Mosen last Sunday, and that episode just
Oh
went
no
live
way,
today.
did you?
Yeah. I just popped it on YouTube and Spotify this morning.
Oh my God, I'll have
Um,
to listen to it directly after this. Amazing.
yeah, the cool thing is like y'all are kind of weaving in and out of each other's stories. So like
Yeah,
obviously you're in different continents, but it would have been super cool to like have you all in the same place and like interview you together to see how the
you can
story
do that
kind
sometime.
of.
I mean, like I say, he's up. He's always up.
Yeah. It's gonna be like really good bookends of like you know, hear Mosen's story, then hear your story, and because he mentioned Duffer St. George and he mentioned Okini, so it's really cool
That's
to hear y'all's
awesome.
journey together.
And he'd been there a little longer than I had. And
Mm-mm-mm.
I mean, he was great. Like, because I think I don't know how much longer you'd have to ask him, like 6 months, maybe a year longer. And that's how I met his wife, Sadia, as well, because she was doing graphic design. So we were all a team.
Oh right.
The three of us worked as a team. Like, I'd work on like Ever Sue Donna stuff, and then she would be doing the graphic for the back seagull, the pocket seagull
Oh,
and
that's
stuff.
cool.
And so he took me under his wing too, because of course I was completely new. We have a hilarious story where we were in like Paris together, going to some trade show or other, and our hotel was flooded, and it was like we were Mary and Joseph looking for like somewhere to somewhere to stay, because like it was like during fashion week, and it was fabric trade shows as well, so it was like everything was booked up, and we were going from
Mm.
hotel to hotel looking for somewhere to stay. So yeah, we go way back.
So
And this
after, so like after Okini, was that kind of when Denim Dudes came into being, or
Nowhere near. Okay, so
okay?
that was like, so Okini, I think, like kind of essentially sort of went under. It turned into we're just going to buy fashion and we'd sell it on. So they just did that, and they basically at that time. And I met an amazing dude then, Mark Westmoreland, who came directly from Levi's. So it was wonderful. It was like the company itself was so fledgling. They were floundering a bit and didn't really know, they didn't have enough direction. But as a designer, you got a lot of freedom, and then you got put in front of a lot of exciting brands and people, and learned a lot. And so Mark, again, is a really good friend of mine still. He lives down the road from my mum's house in Somerset, and
Mm.
yeah, he's great. But after that, we did get let go. Like they kind of disbanded us all, because they went over to this like buyers format rather than designing original product. We did a bit of freelance, and I like worked for Georgia Asda. High times, beautiful, amazing moments.
I actually don't know
Georgia
who that is. I'm
Asda,
gonna lie. I'm like, it
like
sounds cool, but I don't
woo!
think I know it.
Yeah, like fucking Georgia Asda. Warehouse. I don't know if that even exists anymore, but like, yeah, high streety stuff, you know.
Mm.
But on the other, I mean, when you're a freelancer, all kinds of shit. Ungaro Home denim at one point, all like freelance. Then I went to Next. So
Oh
again,
yeah, yeah.
these are not highlights of my career, but this is what happened. I
Gotta
was
pay
at
the bills,
Next.
right?
Yeah, and you know what? Next was also like, it wasn't because they have the design headquarters up north. They had a little thing called Next Sourcing Limited, which was weird. It was owned by Next, but it was a different design team based in London. So I was in Tottenham Court Road, and I was only there 9 months, but I was doing casual jersey out of Sri Lanka, going back and forth to Sri Lanka. So again, great. Like it was nice working for a big corporation, getting flown business class, and learning about another product category. The team were lovely. I was miserable as far as like design was concerned, because
Mm.
you're designing for like middle-aged dog walkers, really. And I know we are probably all now middle-aged dog walkers, but at the time I was in my I was like 25, so I was not happy. But the team were wonderful, and I learned a lot. And then a job came up, and I can't even remember like whether I was looking for it or whether it just landed in my lap or what. But I think it was maybe through an agency. But there was a job at WGSN, and
Mm.
WGSN, for those who don't know, is a trend forecasting agency. I was fully familiar with them because when I was at uni at Kingston Uni in like 1999 2000, they gave us like password, like student passwords, so I was aware of it. And I have to say, like, for me as a designer, my favorite part of design is the eureka moment, the kind of like getting the images together, creating mood boards and sketchbooks, and like the inspiration, and that moment where it all clicks and you're like, I know what I want to design now, and I'm really excited about it. That to me is like what I love. And essentially that is really what trend forecasting is, and what these
Hmm.
agencies do. They are looking at like all kinds of things, from like runway and street style, emerging brands, human behavior, honestly, like what's happening in culture, what's happening in art. And then you just put it all together like a puzzle piece and figure out what might be coming next. So I did interview with them. I did a project. I threw my heart and soul into it because I was like, this would be awesome. I think I'd not really thought about it until then, but I was like, oh, I think this is for me. And I got the job, and I worked under an amazing woman called Sue Barrett, and she come from like Wrangler.
Mm.
It was just the two of us on Denim. She was the editor, I was the associate editor. I was there for 3 years. And I was like, yeah, this is it. So I've been in that world ever since. We sometimes design ranges for people, like little things here and there, not for production, like more for mills and things like promotional stuff. But I think that I'm okay as a designer, but I think that I'm like in the job that I should be in, you know? And so since then I have been in like consultancy and forecasting. I moved from WGSN to a company called Style Site in like 2011, I think. And then that was an American company that I preferred. They were a lot more faster moving. WGSN was owned by a big corporation. It was quite sluggish. I was really happy there. I set up, then I was editor, so I was setting up the denim department there. And it was around that time that Denim Dudes even like was a thought, right? So that's like 2012, 2013. Shall I carry on? Sorry,
No,
you
I'm
can
loving
tell
it.
I do talk a lot.
No, I'm loving it. It's like
Yeah,
you're
crack on.
actually
It's good.
you're kind of narrating for us, which is great because it means I don't have to like jump in and steer with questions. I'm just like, cool, Amy's got it, you know.
I bet Morton's was like this too, though. We're both chatterboxes, and it's just like you can't get a word in edgeways.
Well,
Sorry.
Go-
With
you go-
Mohsin,
you
when
go, Amy.
Mohsin was with us, my wife was texting me going, "Are you actually doing a podcast? Because I'm not hearing you." She thought I was just downstairs playing on my computer or something. I'm like, no, we are having one. Mohsin
Yeah.
is just belt fed. Like he just goes.
Yeah, he just can't stop. He cannot stop. And I'm kind of similar, but yeah, okay. So I've stopped for a bit, but I'm going to carry on. Okay, so Denim Dudes came about because I had a boss called Helen. Shout out to Helen Job, and she was just like, "I think you should do a book." I had honestly not given it any thought. It wasn't really on my radar at all. But at that time, for those who don't really know a lot about trend forecasting, we were going to a lot of trade shows. So fabric trade shows, apparel trade shows, and that would be in Berlin and like Las Vegas and sometimes New York and like Copenhagen and traveling around. There's a lot of travel. It's great. And you're meeting people, and and also when you go to those cities, you're going to the denim stores. So you're meeting store owners, you're meeting like founders of small brand, like, you know, the guys from Naked and Famous, like we met at a trade show, like those, you know, those characters. So I was very fortunate to be put in front of these really inspiring people. And Helen was like, you should do a book. And I'm not an historian. Like there's a lot of amazing denim books out there, you know, that we're all like familiar with, that really like talk about the history of denim, the whys and the wherefores. And I am really interested in culture and like street style and how people style their denim and newness. I mean, the whole point of trend forecasting, and we could come back to that because there's a sticking point there. You know, you are essentially telling brands to make more, which doesn't sit right with me. But, you know, you're also really inspired by, you know, innovation and people doing new things. It's really tricky, double-edged sword. But you're meeting all these amazing people. So I was like, if I do a book, it would be about street style or denim street style in some way, because I didn't train to be a writer. You know, I've got better at writing, and it's kind of trend forecasting. You do have to write a bit, and it's kind of like journalism, but I wasn't a trained writer and I wasn't a historian. So that's what inspires me. These people were inspiring me, and the way that they dressed and how they thought about denim. And it just sort of dawned on me that there was a little gap in the market for, you know, one, I think people would want to learn about the movers and shakers behind the industry, from the Adriana Goldschmieds to the kid that's just making in LA who has a completely different style, who is just learning, you know. Um, and then just and also seeing what they wear, because around that time everyone was obsessed with street style. There was loads of street style blogs, you know, like from advanced style all the way through to, you know, like Fashion Week street stuff. And so to me that was always inspirational. You know, at WGSM we would go on work trips to Tokyo, and all we would be doing is chasing people down the street and taking photos of them. And we weren't, again, photographers, but, you know, we were just doing the best we could. But that was always something that inspired me. So that's where the concept for Denim Dudes came along. I put a pitch together. I think someone put me in touch with the guys at Lawrence King, the publisher. Sent the pitch off. Half an hour later, got a phone call, like your idea. And I was like, oh, okay, guess I'll be doing that then. So it was that's how the book came along.
Interesting anecdote. I remember when Han did the kind of like launch party at Black Horse Lane. Myself and Kevin, who's normally on the podcast, but he's got like a little toddler, so I think he's been up late doing baby stuff. We both went to the launch party, and I remember you were there, like Mosin was there, like Story, like all these different people. And I remember we were like, oh, that's the Denim Dudes Amy. And then a couple years later for my birthday, Kevin actually gave me this copy as a birthday present. And it was super cool because like back then, obviously we wore a lot of denim, but we weren't like connected into the scene at all. We're just starting to do our meetups in London, which is how I know Andy and how I know Lex. And, the podcast wasn't even an idea yet at that point. So like this was like super fundamental in Kevin and I kind of like discovering like who's who in denim and like, he's Dutch. So he's like, oh, cool. Here's some guys in the Netherlands. And the dudes from Denim. And
Renee. Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, and those who don't know, I would say like this book is almost like required reading for someone who's interested in getting into the hobby to kind of like know who's who.
Shit. That's really kind of you. And it's funny because it's funny when you do things, you don't really, I've heard that from a couple of people and it really just astounds me. And I get it does make sense, but when you're in it, you're not really, I just was like, this is inspiring to me. But it's, I think in a way, that job, I was so lucky to be put in front of so many people. You can't really build that kind of exposure. I mean, now, slowly, I have something like that within our company in Denim Dudes, but you can't just walk it, like you can't be just going to trade shows and being, hey, who, like you can't get into those places. It's very industry focused. And I do think that what struck me was just like, oh, I have this unique opportunity. And also we had contacts in all these different cities. So I could find photographers in, Japan. Because I wasn't, I'm not a photographer. I wasn't at half of the shoots. I was a glorified secretary, essentially. I was just like finding the people. If I knew them already, great. If I didn't, like getting access to the people and then finding, I can't remember how many, I think it's 15 different cities. So 15 different photographers, their availability alongside the Denim Dudes availability and coordinating. But it's really, heartening to hear that. And I honestly hadn't kind of thought of it in that way. I just thought about interesting people. But I mean, it's funny also because when you make something, you're always going to be more critical of it. And I missed a lot of people out as well because my knowledge was only like so far. I think I offended a few dudes. There's some people I would meet later in life and they're like, yeah, Denim Dudes, yeah, could have been in there. And I was like, I apologize. It's like, you only know what you know at that point. But it's lovely to hear that, like, for someone who was getting into that it was, like, helpful in some way.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, Lex, did you guys have much of, like, a exposure to the books? I know we all kind of geek out about Denim Dudes.
I have my copy there. And Denim. Right there, and then
I'm so pissed off about the size of them. We can get into that, but I'm pissed off. That was the publisher's fault, and I'm so annoyed.
Why? It's only like it's less than a centimetre, isn't it?
Yeah, look.
Well, because they put a lip on it. Basically, we'll get into it now. Let's do it. Basically,
Go on, let it out. Vent.
Publishers are hard.
This is what we're here for.
This is why someone like Mawson, why he's like making his own books, it's the way forward. Because so the first one was with Lawrence King, and I didn't really know anything, but like they were really lovely and nurturing, and they were like, this is how we do it, and they had a designer to do the Denim Dudes logo and all of this stuff. But the book itself, I'm like looking at it because it's over on my shelf, but it's flush, right? Like a magazine. There's no lip. And then with Denim Dudettes, for a start off, I was calling it Denim Dudettes.
Yep.
We went through so many iterations of and because it was with Rizzoli, which I was excited by because Rizzoli sounds cool, like it's a cool publisher, and they're obviously they're based in the US because I was based in the US at that point. But when you're doing something with a public, like they cut, like especially when it's your second book, they're like, well, we know this much, and I was just like, yeah, but I've done one, and this is what I want, and it's really hard to know when to kind of like to let go of certain and. I wasn't much of a prima donna about it. Now I wish I'd been a bit more of one and stuck to my guns because it is hard. Like Dudette, is like a female version of the word dude. And it's not as strong. Denim dudes is so strong, you know, like sounding. And they were always like, I just came up with denim dudes because I called everyone dude. I don't know why, but like, it was a no-brainer. There was no conversation. With dudette, there was probably a million conversations because we were like denim dames. That sounds so lame. You know,
Denim
like
darlings?
denim darlings. I feel like it just sounds dated. You know what I mean? Like we went through all of these D's and we were just like, that to me conjured up, like kind of bucolic days. And I was just like, yes, to a certain extent there, you know, and this will be an interesting conversation with you guys because I've always found that hard balancing between, you know, heritage, you know, built to last, made in America, you know, Draper looms, that whole world, and then the new, because I always wanted to put in more contemporary people and fashion as well. Like I wanted that like mix. Anyway, so in the end, they were like, we want to call it denim, just denim. I was like, no, Jesus. But anyway, I rolled over and then the book comes back and the printers just decided we're going to put a lip on it. That'll look nice. I'm like, you fucking it. Because I guess they didn't know there was another book. They didn't know that the specs were really specific and it was designed to like sit flush on a shelf. And essentially they were just like, well, if we go to second print, then we will make that change. And then we've never gone to second print. So that's the end of that. Denim Dudes went to second print, but Denim Dudettes never did.
I just assumed it'd be in regular rotation. So I need to because I don't have the second book. I need to get my hands on a copy while I still can then. So I remember when it came out.
You know what? They're both well, hang on. So Denim Dudettes, I have no idea where we're at with sales with that, but Denim Dudes is actually currently out of print insofar as they did 2 print runs. And at the moment, I'm talking to them like, I'm basically saying, look, it's an evergreen book. It would be nice if you did a 3rd print run. But of course, if you imagine right now, the sales are not like through the roof at this point. So it's just like, is it worth them doing another print? So I would say get both books or like a couple, because they're not going to be around for much longer. Or at least Dudes isn't. I don't know how many are left of Dudettes. It didn't sell anywhere near.
So do you have a plan to do a 3rd book?
Yeah. Well, I have a plan to do like 7, but the problem is I started the 3rd, which is Denim Dens, which is like homes, collections, collectors, and that would be everything from like someone who has a really fucking nice house with a denim couch kind of vibes, to warehouses, to hoarders, to memorabilia. We shot for that actually in Kansas City when the Lee team joined Wrangler in Greensboro and they packed up their archives in Kansas City. We shot before they left. And funny enough, like Sean Gormley from Wrangler like hit me up the other day and was like, have you got photos from there? Like, this is like the 3rd time that Wrangler or Lee have hit me up for those photos because they're rebuilding the archives in Greensboro and they don't have like records of it. So I'm so glad I did that. But the book still hasn't, like, it's kind of on hold, simply because books are really an amazing tool for like putting your name on the map and gaining legitimacy, but they're not very good for paying bills or rent or eating. They just don't make very much money. And I think what I've found in recent years is like running Denim Dudes and everything that comes with that. And I always get sucked into passion projects that kind of would be a bit like the book was a passion project. And it just sort of seems to suck all my energy and I don't get round to it. It doesn't mean I won't, but I don't know when. I just don't know when. But yeah, Denim Dens, Denim Dogs. I think it would be a toilet book, but I think we're all here for it, right? Like,
I'd buy it.
I'd buy that.
It need to be dogs and cats, though. You got to put some cats in there too.
Yeah, this is true. Maybe it's like Denim Dogs and cats in brackets.
Because
I'm a cat girl, so my cat is called Dude also. So yeah, Denim. What else is there? And then Diddy Denimheads. Right, very cute. That comes with its issues. Which you could probably imagine, like just some people might buy that book for other reasons, which is so depressing and awful and harrowing. And I hadn't thought of it, but like that was a conversation that my publisher had with me. I was just like, oh dear God, but okay. That Diddy Denimheads. And then I think I just wanted to, I also by gendering the books, which I did for very good reason, being a woman in the denim industry. But now, obviously, like things have moved forward, and I feel a bit embarrassed about gendering the books. I think I would just do a new, like, Denim Dudes, I don't know, next generation, and do a lot of like younger kids coming up who are getting into the scene. I think it would be really awesome. So yeah, I got a lot of books in my head, but like, yeah, I haven't worked out how to make money from them. So
Yeah, I think something is interesting around the stuff you put on social media, where you're finding all these like super cool new designers doing new stuff with denim, like even like a magazine format rather than like a book, or like something that you just offer through your consulting website. Like it feels like there's something there around the fact that you're connected with new people doing interesting stuff that's indigo related. Also, I'll mention too, I picked up the new issue of Avant today, Avant magazine. I'm not gonna lie, I think Eric definitely was inspired by Denim Dudes, because the new issue is like the vintage collector issue, and I was like, I think I know where Eric got the idea for that issue from.
Oh, no way! I haven't seen it yet. I know Mawson's in it, right?
Yeah, I have it on my table. I'll grab it real quick. One sec.
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh, that's so funny. And that's the thing. It's just like, I mean, especially in LA, the vintage scene. Yeah, how can I? Yeah, give us a flick through. I want to see some pages.
But yeah, it's like kind of like, different vintage collectors around the world, and it's more like who they are and like why they're relevant to collecting.
Awesome! What a good resource.
More so than like why they are like a denim head specifically, but I thought it was cool because I was like, yeah, it definitely kind of feels like it's sort of the carrying the candle a bit.
That's
or inspired
awesome.
by.
And he's in the world of like print again. It's like with Mawson, printing and publishing stuff. So, I mean, that I honestly, maybe the way to do it is through Mawson, because I have the format here. I would like know the paper quality, like all of that shit. It's not hard to like replicate. Hey, there he is. So yeah, maybe I think that's the way, like self-publishing, then it probably is worth it. But you're right, to your point. I think Denim Dudes, I just started the Instagram because I knew that if people were looking for the book, and at that time, like the book came out 2015, so I was kind of setting this stuff up in like 2014. We were shooting 2013, 2014. So around that time, I mean, like I just thought, we'll get the Instagram handle. So I did. And at that, like when the book first came out, I was just, just putting stuff up. I'd go to a boring fabric trade show and I'd be like posting boring fabric. I don't know what the hell I was posting, but like I was posting stuff. And then it did morph and turn into, because I was very pedantic at that time about like, I should just post my own photos on Instagram. It's funny, isn't it? When like as a creative, you give yourself parameters and weird rules. And then you're like, why though? Why have I done that? And it was actually like, a mentor of mine, Jonathan, who was just like, you work in like this world where you're discovering new people and Instagram's full of great images, just post their images. And I was like, I just couldn't do it for ages. I was just like, no, but it's not original. It's not original photography. But I'm not a photographer also. So why I thought that was worth it, I don't know. So eventually I did, and I started posting like other people's work and screen grabbing. It was much quicker and fucking easier. And to your point, yes, there's so much talent from vintage dealers to young brands and makers. And I'm really excited about this new generation getting into like heritage and selvage and built to last and stuff, and the way that they're kind of wearing it that's like different from like the 2010s. And so there's definitely room for another book. So yeah, maybe self-publishing. It's just hard, I think. Like I struggle at the moment with just the headspace that is Denim Dudes as a company, and it's tiny, but it's a lot of work. And I have like one sort of full-time assistant and me, and that's it. And it's just hard to do it all. So it's funny because when I was doing Denim Dudes, I was running a department. I was in charge of like denim and youth street wear as well. And so I had like maybe 15 people under me at one point, but for some reason, I think corporate jobs even if you're working 14-hour days, somehow it just didn't take the headspace that Denim Dudes take somehow. I think it is just because it's self-owned or something. And I've just struggled to put another one out. But I'd love to, like to answer your question, there's a lot of books in me. And I love doing it because it's just like, I guess that's what Denim Dudes, the Instagram, has become. Just like you discover someone, you find someone, you're excited, you want to talk about them. That's all it is really. And share.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's kind of like 3 accounts that I feel give me the pulse of like what's happening around denim. It's like Mohsen, yourself, and then your colleague / friend Sam Trotman. Between the 3 of y'all, it's like you can
we
know
need to talk about him.
all. Yeah, I want to try and get him on the pod at some point. It's like across the 3 of y'all like have the pulse on everything.
I was just talking about him over breakfast as well. And he's such a rad dude. And so going back to when I went to Style Site, and it was like 2010, 2011, after about a year, I was allocated an assistant. And it was funny because I was interviewing for people. And again, I think it was freaking Helen, my boss, Helen. She was like, you should do a book and you should hire this person. So I owe her a lot. So she was like, there's this guy, and at the time Sam was freelancing for them because he would go to festivals and take photos of cool kids. And he had a bowl haircut at the time, and I had my eye on a couple of other people. I was interviewing a couple of people, and I was kind of like, I want to find my person. And then he just came in, and immediately not immediately, but like after 5 minutes of talking to him, I was like, yeah, scratch all of that. This is the dude. This is definitely the dude.
Yeah.
He's such a unique and special human. And what I like most about him is he's just so curious, right? He's just so interested in people, in things, and it comes across in his Instagram so well. And I don't know how he retains everything it's incredible what he publishes and like the breadth of the stuff that he covers. And he was, I think, when we talk about like entrepreneurial people, he was my assistant at Style Site, and then I left, came to LA and founded like Denim Dudes as an LLC and started doing consultancy. And then we were very sad. I mean, there were tears when the day I left, there were tears. And I said, look, I'll try and earn enough money that I can employ you. And I did for a minute. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, yeah, you're gone. I'm sorry. Like we all just had to go freelance because we were screwed,
Yeah.
And at that moment, that's when he, took Samutaro and just kicked it off. And he was able to zoom out. And I remember us talking about this. He was able to zoom out and go, if I expand this out to just street culture and youth culture and just everything, culture, there's so much more scope. And I remember us talking about it and I was like, yeah, but this is my niche now, and so I'm in it. And do I regret it? No, because only he could do what he did.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm capable of that level. The circles he moves in, what he does. But I do think that he saw a gap in the market that I maybe saw, but just didn't. Sometimes we get in our own ways. I just couldn't zoom out enough. I wanted to carry on doing my little niche thing. And I think that that's commendable and wonderful, but also it does restrict how much you can grow, So he really did an amazing thing. And he was in LA just a couple of weeks ago because Oakley flew him out to go to their 50th anniversary. And we went to see Dickies together. And yeah, he's still just an absolute pleasure to hang out with. He hasn't been spoiled by his success at all. It's great.
Well, maybe let's talk a bit about LA, because I know I got a chance to chat with you at Inspiration a couple months back and at the Free Note party and stuff. What's it like being in LA with the fashion scene, the denim scene? Obviously up here in San Francisco, it's quiet and boring by comparison. What's your take on LA? Why do you love it there?
So a few different lifestyle reasons. I was 36 when I moved here, and I had been in London for 18 years. And London and New York are really similar. The company that I was working for at the time, Style Site, was based in New York. They wanted me to move to New York, and then what happened was WGSN bought Style Site. That was a wild thing. We were going through a merger, not a fun time. But essentially, I was kind of I just loved LA. I would come here maybe once or twice a year, maybe. I don't know. I would come to the Las Vegas shows and I would come via LA. And I would sometimes, the fashion industry isn't like this anymore, but I would fly out for Inspiration, from England, to go and cover Inspiration. I don't know how I convinced my bosses that I needed to do that because it was insane. And we would be shooting also on The Quiet. By the way, I did the book on The Quiet. So I'd be at Inspiration and I'd cover it really well. I didn't I didn't slack on my job, but also we'd be shooting dudes like the Eat Dust guys. We shot them at Inspiration LA, for instance. So I loved it out here. I think the vintage is insane. There are a lot of denim brands here, you know, and there's factories as well. I mean, like we've had all this awful stuff with ice, you know, in the last couple of months. But I mean, even New York manufacturing has really plummeted, and so has LA. I mean, gosh, I think probably if I was here 30 years ago, it would be like huge. But the fact is, it still exists here. I'm able to go to factories, wash houses, manufacturers. You know, it's all like 30 minutes drive away. The brands are here. And then vintage is just so freaking good here. The sun. So for me, going back to it, I was 36 and I was like, I wanted a slower pace, and New York and London felt really similar. And I'd come here and I'd go on hikes to fucking waterfalls, and there's palm trees and it's sunny. And obviously coming from England, as you all know, it's like that does get to you after a while. And I'd come here and I'm like, oh my God, this is like being on holiday all the freaking time. So there were many lifestyle decisions that went into it, but I thought to myself, well, it's not going to hurt me being based in LA of all the cities, and that's worked out great. Yeah. So no, I'm very happy here. It's awesome, and I miss England. I miss British people. I miss pubs. I miss Sunday roast. I miss fish and chips. I miss culture. I do think that, like, you know, I have a lot of British friends here, which is it's like, oh, have I integrated enough? I don't know. I have a lot of British friends here. But because culturally we are so different, I actually have realized that I think that the Brits have more in common culturally to the Japanese than they do to the Americans, which is hilarious to me. We speak the same language, but very differently, I think. But there's there's a lot to love here. And I'm, really happy.
Andy, Lex is our resident Brits. How do you guys feel about that kind of connectivity to, like, you know, not feeling so not so American, and, you know, feeling like you guys are kind of something quite different?
I mean, I'd agree. One of my best friends has recently, who is American and has lived here for 20 years, has moved back to Atlanta. And I think he's finding it slightly strange there, having spent 2 decades basically in Europe, kind of with a British passport now.
Yes.
And suddenly have to reintegrate to kind of, and America's amazing, but there's a lot of strange things about it. So, and I don't want to insult any American listeners, by the way. You guys are amazing. But David, do we have any American listeners, or am I being a bit ambitious there?
I listened to our own episodes. I guess you got one.
There we go. That's one at least.
One thing I will say, though, I think that one of the coolest things about London that, like, my friends up here in the Bay Area talk about, or like when I'm down in LA for inspiration, and the guys we met up with there, is like the kind of like community we built in London, and like the hangouts, the center. I mean, Black Horse Lane's kind of like a through line around a lot of it, but also like the Bryceland shop, and, you know, Rudy and Son of a Stag. There's definitely a scene in London around denim that I don't feel like, or a community maybe that I don't think any other city has that I've seen, which is super cool. I think that's quite special.
I think that, I definitely agree. What I've noticed, the sort of cultural differences, and I was explaining this to someone the other day, Americans are very positive people. And what I did find, right, for instance, let's talk about Rudy. So when we put him in the book, I was going into Son of a Stag. Our offices were quite close by, and I'd go into Son of a Stag, you know, reasonably regularly for a long period of time. And I know I'm very chatty when people ask me questions, but if I'm just walking a shop, and I think this is a very British thing, you walk in a shop, you're not talking to anyone, you're not making eye contact with anyone, right? And you don't want them to talk to you. And so I would be going into Son of a Stag on a regular basis and like, you're right, to Rudy, right. And that's it. Like, and that was about it for quite a few, like maybe 2 years or something. And then I think maybe I'd say the odd thing, but we really didn't like talk a lot because he, you know, we're both British and we were just like, well, nope. And then I did. And then I think because I'd been chipping away at going in there a lot, he was like, no, she's legit. And in America, you walk into a store, hi, how are you? Da, da, da. Oh my God, you have a book? Blah, blah, blah. It's like all of this happens like over 3 years going into Son of a Stag. It happens within like 5 freaking minutes in America. and there's something really amazing about that I really admire about American people. They are so curious, and they ask lots of questions, and they're very chatty and very forward. Brits, though, I have to say, and this obviously I only have the experience of living in LA, and we all have heard that LA can be quite surface, which is true. Like, obviously, there's so many really genuine people here, but you just got to find them. But I think British culture, once you're in, you are in for life. And I think going back to what you're saying about like the scene in London that revolves around, you know, like certain stores, certain spaces, those people are diehards, and they make firm friendships and lasting friendships, and it's not as surface, it's much, much deeper. But it just takes longer to form that, and because it takes longer, it's deeper. And so I think in LA, I think you're exactly right. Like, you know, I have certain friends, like even Jamie's a good example. Jamie from Raggedy Threads. I mean, she's pretty much moved to New York now. But you know, like I first came out here, I didn't know so many people, and I was hanging out with her a lot. And then we started hanging out less, and we both really like each other and really have a great time when we're with each other. And I would often, you end up just texting back and forth going, I really do miss you, and we really should do something, and you just don't. It's something about LA. It's one, I know it's spread out, so there is that, but there's something else that goes on here where, yeah, inspiration is a really, really big reason to all hang out together. But yeah, I might be seeing those people for the first time in a year. Some of them, you know, there's just not so much of a community here. There is a community, but it's not not in the like meet up all the time sense, which is weird.
Yeah.
This more disconnected community. I think there's a lot of love and respect, but we're just not hanging out a lot, which is weird. And New York, I think you do. Like, I think it might be, some of this might be an LA, like geographical thing. I don't know. What about you? What do you think about that? Like, David, like I mean, San Francisco, I think is a little bit more compact. But like, do you hang out at like Selvedge or anything? Like, you know, does that, or like, I feel like the guys at Standard and Strange have created quite a scene, but I don't know. I'm not there enough to know.
Yeah, it's interesting because Selvedge, obviously, like you can't miss it. You know, I walked past it like a couple hours ago on the way home for this podcast. I'm like, if I go in, I'm going to buy something, so I'm not going to go in. But they are like they are super chill and nice dudes. So like, but I guess because like Kia and his wife are like either in Mexico or in Greece. So they're not like ever around. So there's no like scene there. And with Standard and Strange in Berkeley, Jeremy's historically done a pretty good job of like having events and stuff, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the case going forward, given kind of some changes there. I guess we'll see. Yeah. But what is popping up is Mac, who owns Brogue down in like kind of 10-15 minutes south of San Francisco, like kind of by SFO Airport.
Never been.
Yeah,
Okay.
Brogue is super dope. It's like he started out as like an Alden seller, but then he started bringing in all these like, because I think Mac is of Japanese heritage, if I understand correctly. I have not met him in person, but he has like really good stuff like Attractions, At Last and Co. Freewheelers. Like he gets some really, really good Japanese brands. I guess he's from there. He's got this super dope space, and it's gonna, I think, start to turn into like the Bay Area hangout. So I just created a Bay Area Denim Hangs account, and Mac's like, oh yeah, we'll host the hangouts at my shop going forward.
Nice.
So like it's starting to take shape here, but I think because this city doesn't have like a fashion scene in the way that LA or New York does or London. People don't like get dressed up to look cool. It's like you're wearing your running kit or whatever. So like I'm walking around with like my head to toe denim and indigo stuff, and like I'll see other denim heads because people obviously buy nice stuff here because they've got, you know, tech money. So like I'll be like, oh, that guy's got some really nice boots, really nice jacket, but it doesn't seem like it's a thing people are showing off in the same way that you might see in other cities. But
yeah, that makes sense.
But so yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's weird too because like, you know, Levi's is from here, and our mayor's the heir of the Levi's fortune, and it feels like denim should be more of a part of the scene. And like the Telesun guys are here, and you know, Pete and Tony.
I always forget that they're there. Yes.
Yeah, up in Sausalito. I'll always shout them out because when I was first wanting to get into denim before Black Horse, like Pete invited me to come hang out at their spot in Sausalito and like just chill with him and Tony and like gave me a bunch of advice, which is really cool.
They're good dudes.
But
They're good dudes.
maybe I'd like to shift locations a bit to Amsterdam. I like to talk about denim dudes as a consultancy and like kingpins and all the stuff you do around like telling the world what's happening in denim. I think that's a really important part of your story to cover.
Well, I'd be happy to talk about it. And I actually feel like it kind of riffs off of what we're talking about, because when it comes to community and it comes to like the denim scene, quote unquote, I've always felt a little disconnected from like that. And I'm not like saying it is all dudes, because you know it isn't all dudes, but I think because of my background, and then maybe some of it has to do with being a woman, because I shop a lot of vintage. I do more vintage than I do like selvage. I mean, I have a bunch of selvage in my collection, but a lot of it is more vintage selvage, right? And it was really wild around the sort of like 2008 to 2000 or like 12 or whatever, that moment that, let's call heritage a trend for a second, which I know is blasphemy, but you know, I, as a trend forecaster, I was seeing it like, I think trend is a really problematic word, because yes, you know, when you think about ASOS and you think about like Zara, and this is why I've struggled with the work that I do, because there is that side of it. There's the like, what's happening on the runway, we're just going to rip it off, that side of trend. Like, I would say that's the dirty side of quote unquote trend. What I'm really interested in is this, like more kind of I guess consumer attitudes, but just on a deeper level, you know, how politics plays into what we buy and wear, and just the psyche, you know, like of the world at the time. So, you know, the 2008 market crash, I think was a direct influencer on that heritage like explosion of built to last, and, you know, for instance, here, made in America, and so much good came from that. I think, you know, like educating the customer and in looking for and buying quality. And I think that's sort of like that moment introduced a new way of thinking that hasn't gone away, and I don't think ever will now. And yes, I think before that, there was a bunch of people doing it anyway, especially like, you know, the Ford drivers of LA, you know, like, you know, the Michael Harrises of the world. Like he was on this for a while, right? So there are the diehards that's just their lifestyle. And then, but going back to this idea of trend, I remember at the time, for many years afterwards, you get a lot of DMs from guys who are like, yeah, we got this idea and it's like a one-man brand and it's this and it's that and it's selvage. And sometimes it was great. A lot of the time that it was the aftermath of that quote unquote trend. And I'm still not like putting it down, because I still think it was like, you know, brands who are coming at it from the right direction of like, let's build something like quality. But a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. And I always felt quite disconnected from it, because I think I was working in this sort of denim industry and the trend industry before, and knew I was going to continue afterwards, and knew that it would kind of like come up and then dissipate, and then maybe it would come up again. This is what trends do. And for me, I have been interested in a lot of other stuff, and that's where, again, it kind of can be weird and tricky, because, you know, like, say, I'm trying to think of an example of just like, like, you know, baggy fits coming in, and also like, you know, boot cuts, like Kendrick Lamar with the like boot cut jeans at the, you know, halftime. There's micro cultures, and then there's giant culture, and like that's mainstream giant culture. I'm fascinated by it. I'm so fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by human behavior and how these things happen. And I love fashion and I love clothes. So like, I'm just looking at my like, you know, denim rack over here. And there's a bunch of dark indigo denim, and there's a bunch of vintage. And then I have these two like kind of drawers underneath, and there's colors in there, and there's all kinds of shit. I think in around 2007, 8, I was going to Japan, and I was wearing like gold full sequin jeans, but then with like a vintage poncho covered in like Americana patches. I'm all over the shop, man. I just wear all kinds of shit. And so I've always found it like harder to sort of like fully be in that, the selvage scene, if you want to call it that, because I've always felt a little bit more of an outsider from it.
Yeah.
I love it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the people, but I don't feel completely like I belong in it, because I am sort of looking at all this other stuff. And so, yeah, going into trend forecasting, essentially that is what we do. I would say over the last decade, 15 years, it's become less about pop culture and more about deeper culture, which is more fascinating and kind of a bit harder, because obviously you got to know about politics and all kinds of stuff now. I feel like back in the day, it'd be like, oh, the horrors, skinny black jeans, like it just was easier. And now it's like, it requires a lot of deeper thinking and expertise outside of just us, and amazing conversations. I find it all so freaking fascinating. Like, and that side of things is essentially, I guess, it's what it comes down to is the way that we, show off to each other. We're just a bunch of birds showing off to each other, or like signifying to each other that we might be like friends or have things in common. I mean, like that's, like you're saying, you spot people in San Francisco and you're like, they're kind of like me, but they're kind of not, because they're not, you can just tell it's social signaling. And I find all that really, really fascinating. And essentially that's what we do. And we do that behind the scenes for brands. And Levi's is one of our, biggest clients. And we've been working with them for 10 years. And all we do is at the beginning of their season is we go, this is all the shit that's happening. This is what the kids are wearing. This is what they're talking about. And Sam still works with us on that. And my associates, Shannon, as well. And we're all just sniffing around and seeing what the kids are up to. And then we obviously have to distill that down into, like, if you are a Levi's with all of the heritage and the history that they have, like, how do you position that? Some of the time it's just a case of like, we're telling you so it's not for you to play in, sometimes it's that. Or like knowing, okay, well these, I don't know, like when streetwear was such a big thing, that affects how they design their 5-pocket jean. It just does. So that's the stuff that we do. Yeah.
Without asking you to divulge anything that's like industry secrets or whatever, like, do y'all have kind of like a secret sauce that enables you to find what's gonna blow up soon, or is it just like hard graft? Is it kind of being in the right place at the right time? Like, how do y'all know
what's coming?
How to forecast?
What's the secret? Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is just like when I used to design, I always had I think there's a couple of things that go on. One, you do have a kind of like innate sort of sense, a sixth sense of it, because you're just really into design. Two, we're doing it all the time. So like now I don't design full time. I am just, when I'm on Instagram, I'm looking, saving, thinking. And when you're doing that full time, you cannot help but connect the dots. I would say that, like, maybe just like, say if I tried to get like my dad to do it, he would be quite shit. Like, you have to have a passion, an eye, and a love there. But if you have that, and then you are just physically doing it for the majority of your existence, you get better at it. Also, I think with experience as well, you get more experience to like, well, this has happened before in this way, and so now it's going to happen in this way, whatever. But no, I had another point, because there was something else to it. Oh yeah, I remember quite like when I was younger, there was this pair of boots that I had, and I was just like, and I'd had them for ages, I hadn't worn them for ages, and I remember looking at them going, no, they're really not it now. They are really not it. And I got rid of them. And about 6 months later, they were it again. Or they were coming. Or like, I was like, what I do with those boots? There's this moment. So this is in a way a trick. If it's feeling uncomfortable and slightly ugly, any second now it's going to be cool again. It's so weird how it happens. But I mean, Y2K is a really good example of that. I remember when we would come over to Vegas for the trade shows, and we'd be at Savers, which is like a giant supermarket. You literally have a supermarket trolley, giant supermarket for vintage, but it's just everything. So it is everything from like shitty Zara from like 2 years ago to, you do find some great stuff. Less so now, but you used to. So we'd be in there. We would land in Vegas. We'd be jet lagged to fuck, and we would that's what we would do to like keep awake. We would go immediately to Savers, and it was so fun. I bought so much amazing shit there. But I remember around that time, and this was like, yeah, like 2010, it would be those kind of like mesh, like printed abstracts with some, you know, like Diamante stuff on them. And we would like hold on, go, one day, man, this is, and we were like, we can't believe it. There's no way. There's no fucking way. This is going to be cool. But knowing in our heart of hearts, there's going to be a moment where this is cool again. And sure enough, we're in it right now. And I should have bought all of those fucking waffle tops. But yeah, it's weird and wild. But it just comes in cycles. So it just, you know, and when something does feel like uncomfortable or ugly. I remember when skinnies first came in like, 2002, 2003. And you really just couldn't find them at first. And I remember getting a pair of like really high-waisted, skinny, super fine jeans, and knowing, even in myself, I'm not ready to wear them yet, but I'm gonna be in about a year. And sure enough, I was ready in a year. It's so weird. It's a strange phenomenon.
It's funny as you're saying that. I keep thinking about Andy and Ilya always touting like super short scuba shorts, whatever. And I'm like, no,
they
guys,
will come in.
No.
It will happen. It will happen. You will see it. Everyone will be walking around mid-August, full-on Magnum PI, 2-inch inseam Hawaiian shirt. It's going to be amazing.
Love it. Yes, totally. I love a short on a dude, I have to say. They're called
shorts for a reason. They're not longs, they're shorts.
Exactly, man. Yeah. Exactly. Get those thighs out.
But like t-shirts kind of go to here-ish, right? Almost to the elbows. Well, it depends on the t-shirt, but you know, t-shirts don't stop at your armpit, so it's like, why would the shorts?
Why not?
There you go.
Exactly.
That's my response. It's just like wearing a vest. It's like a tank top, isn't it?
Amy, our request for you is to try to make short shorts a trend. So
yes, please do.
Next
on men,
report,
right? On men.
On men, yeah. Short shorts. Yeah, short shorts on men. And then David, you won't get out of it.
I mean, it's funny you should say that, because last year there was a whole chat about, what's his name?
Oh, it was Paul Mescal shorts, wasn't it?
Paul Mescal.
Yeah, Paul Mescal,
and
Jeremy
short
Allen White. Yeah. There was chat. I feel like there's been loads less chat about men in short shorts. But again, this is the stupid thing about trends, because look, I love it and hate it. You know, there's elements of it that I totally get why people hate trend. I mean, it's just so stupid and annoying sometimes, because I think I mean, humans are really stupid a lot of the time. We all are. But I feel like that's the trouble with trends. It's like last summer everyone was talking about it, because it's just like, I think social media and everything, it's just like a virality thing. It's just like everyone was talking about it, and for whatever reason no one's talking about it now, and so I guess there's less fucking guys with their thighs out this year. It's wild. But again, I find that stuff interesting just because it's just, we're being weird. Like, we're all being weird because we're humans, I guess.
What's your take on the whole The Bear as a style inspiration? So it's like Jeremy Allen White wears, you know, this Murs tee, this Whitesville tee, this Mr. Freedom jacket, etc. Like, what's your take on that whole thing?
I mean, look, I feel like that's how trends, I think back in the olden days of like the 90s and the, you know, early noughties, I think trends moved a lot slower, and that was our media. Social media has sped everything up, and it has made everything breakneck speed. And then that, in correlation with fast fashion explosion, you know, it's a recipe for disaster, and we've seen that happen. But, you know, I think the Jeremy Allen White thing would have happened anyway, because that was our media before, right? Like, it was, you know, fashion trends would come from like certain celebrity personalities on certain TV shows, and I, you know, it's like the old school, that's old school trend forecasting, but much slower moving. And obviously I think, you know, I think that show and him as a person, like, that has sort of been one of the many catalysts that's brought in this second, and I'd be interested to know what you think, because you guys are much more entrenched in this world, in this sort of second, what I would call Heritage 2.0, this second wave of, you know, like 20-somethings discovering Japanese denim, selvage, and made in America. And I think that show has a part to play, one of the parts to play in it. I don't know what you guys think. You guys are more the expert than I am on this subject.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's in some ways it's understandable. It's like, any of the cast members on the show look good in what they're wearing, right? Whether it's like a Capital bandana, whether it's a Murders tee,
I know.
whatever. It's like everyone looks good. And so it's like it's obvious. It's kind of obvious and easy to understand why. Like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I want to wear that too. I think where I struggle is more like the stuff on Instagram that you or like Sam or other people are finding, where it's like it's not immediately clear why something is cool. Like maybe it's really gritty, or maybe it's kind of weird, or maybe it's just super creative. And so I think I struggle a bit more to kind of like think outside the box and be like, oh, right, the kids are finding this cool because of XYZ. Like that, it's almost like I can't see things in the same way that different generations can.
Yeah.
Which I think is why y'all are so relevant to like help us understand what makes these things that aren't obviously cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think I think why this Heritage 2.0 thing is happening is mostly to do with similar patterns that led to 2010. It's the 2008 market crash. It's just when people feel insecure about their future, when people feel very deeply concerned about money, etc. They go back to what feels secure and feels safe and feels built to last and feels like values that they can relate to. I think. I mean, I think with so-called trends, it's never one thing completely. It's always like a perfect storm, if you like. But I think that maybe that has something to do with it. Also, I do think that, like, for instance, like the vintage scene out here, there's this group, and I'd be really interested to see if they're in Avant, because there's this group of kids who are in their like very early to maybe mid 20s, who are getting into vintage. And I'd seen them at the Rose Bowl, and they got in. Not all of them did, but a lot of them got in through 90s tees, 90s rap tees or whatever. And at the Rose Bowl, you get the older, more, authentic vintage dealers. They were they were really pissed off with these kids because the Rose Bowl was changing. And it used to be, I mean, it is just, honestly, I think half of it is just getting older. Like, it's frustrating getting older. We were like the scene, or we were the thing, and we were the kids, I guess, or at least the 30-somethings, maybe the early 30s, late 20s. And then these kids came in, they were selling their 90s rap tees, and they were selling different shit. And the Rose Bowl has changed. It's changed completely from what it used to be, say 10, 15 years ago. But then these kids, they're rubbing shoulders with these other like legends in this world. And Zip Stevenson's a good example of that. He has actually really taken a lot of these kids under his wing. And it's really sweet because it's kind of a learning curve for both of them, where like they're teaching them how to do social media, and how to communicate storytelling and things like that. And he's sort of really helping them along the way with vintage. And so it's weird because I feel like I both it frustrates me and I love it. Does that make sense? Like, there's this kid, I forget his name, and he's based in LA, and he's so so bright-eyed and excited about life. He's so positive. I really forget his name now, but I'll find him afterwards and I'll send him to you. But he was like, he'd been to Japan and he was learning about Japanese denim. And he was like, oh my God, I found this store. It's called Selvedge and it's in Los Angeles. And he's going into the Selvedge store, and it's all really nicely like shot. Bless him, out of all of these dudes of this new generation, he does it. The reason I like him is he does it with, what's the word? Humility. He's like, you'll come along with me. I'm learning this for the first time. Thank you. Like, just say that. Just please say that. For the love of God, say that. Because then I think it's funny. Like, we put that video in one of our trend decks when we're talking about this Heritage 2.0 with like someone like Levi's, because we're like, look, we're all cringing, we're all hating, but at least he's acknowledging that he literally wasn't he was like 6 maybe in 2010. He can't be expected to know about Mike Hodison, Zip Stevenson, and Rising Sun and Selvedge. He was literally not, he was just not grown. And it's fine. It's totally fine. But what does piss me off, and I'm sure pisses you off too, is when they're like, did you know about blah, blah, blah? And you're like, yes, I fucking did. I did know. And you're talking down to me, and I am really annoyed. So I don't know, there is this weird push and pull about like, when the younger generations and Gen Z get into something and not fully understanding. Half the time with me, I don't fully understand, and I wouldn't do it myself. I just get excited for them. And I think that's what makes Sam good at what he does, and what me, I hate to blow my own trumpet, but good at what I do. I get excited. Even if I'm not going to partake, I am like, whoa, what? You really? Okay, tell me more. Like, I'm just like, wow. And that's why, like, with the Y2K thing, I'm not wearing low-rise jeans again. No freaking way. But I'm excited. I don't know why I'm excited for them, but I am. I'm excited for them wearing low-rise jeans. Like, go for it,
I'm on this regular fit thing these days. It's been sticking with me over the years now, where it's like, after skinny, and I kind of moved away from that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going super wide either, because that'll eventually be abnormal. Yeah. I'm going regular. I want right in the middle. I want my shirts regular. I want my jeans regular. Everything I want it as average as possible fit wise. That way it's always going to be fine to wear it. I'll never have to worry about being too big, too little, too long, too short,
And honestly, to your point, this is the thing. This is why heritage and authenticity and built to last brand is the best idea, because the problem with trends, and this is why I have difficulty with loving what I do, but like not really approving of it, because really we don't need any more stuff. Personally, I buy a shit ton of vintage because everything's been done before. So if a trend comes in, or if there's something that I like, I buy it pretty much vintage. I do buy a little new, but not very much. But I get, I'm the same. I'm like, I do have quite a lot of wide legs in my cupboard here, and I still have some original skinnies that I'm like, I got rid of for fair few, but I've got some like better quality ones from back in the day, just for I mean, we work in it's mostly because
they'll come back.
Sentimentality. No, it's less to do with like I'm gonna again, maybe I will, but more just like I can't, like I love jeans, and I'm like it's a moment in time. It's more of an archival thing, I guess. But yeah, I know that I've got probably more wide leg jeans there than I need. And this is the difficulty. And so when I think you kind of go down, especially I think in menswear, when you discover this kind of like, the Selvedges of the world, you're just consuming less. It's uniform. It's all very good quality. You wear it to death. You repair it. I mean, all of these attributes are how we should all shop, really. And so I've always found that hard, because they're all of the beliefs that I have, and yet I get excited just like Sam does about like some weirdo who's making some crazy shit, like Paradox Paris. Have you heard of those guys? They're based in Paris, and they make insane, like overworked surfaces and insane shit. But then it's so cool seeing like it's art, it's literally like bespoke fashion in a way. And I get excited when I see that stuff. I'm not going to buy it, but I get really excited for it,
I think this is the next book. I mean, obviously, like, I don't want to like be your creative guidance, but I think this is the next book that like we need to see. It's sort of like a catalog of just all the crazy nutso stuff that's going to happen. It's almost like forecasting in book form, where it's like, these are the crazy trends I'm seeing, and people doing neat stuff, and like almost like denim zeitgeist, for lack of a better word. Yeah, like that 100%. Would be super cool.
Yes, and I feel like with denim dudes, I mean, that's essentially what the feed has become. But making that, it would be so much more beautiful to do. I think that's the beauty of books. It's like Instagram's great, it's lovely, but making something that kind of like puts a stamp on a moment and solidifies that in legitimacy is so fun to do, and rewarding, and great also for the people involved. Like, you just get to like, it's so fun. Like, when I was doing Denim Dudes, everyone said yes, because they're like, I'm going to be putting a book. Yeah. Like everyone's flattered, and that's lovely to do. So I agree. Like, there's definitely, like, if someone put a gun to my head now and said, who would be in book 3, and I did that book, I could, under pressure, definitely like write, like, I think it was 82 guys. I could definitely I mean, maybe I'll have to quickly look at my Instagram feed a couple of times, but yeah, I like already know like at least 10 or 20 that I put in there without a shadow of a doubt. And again, I think with social media, it's become more global. Like, you know, our community's become more global as well. Like, yeah, I just had lunch with these two German guys who are over, you know, they do a really similar thing to us, and there's just so much passion in what they're doing. And yeah, I think clothing is a weird category of like the human experience. And you know, going back to like birds and showing off to each other, I think that's why we do it. We like do it to kind of identify with who we are and what we are our deepest, and express that and try and communicate that to other people, and then to find our people. And that social signaling is fascinating and really interesting, and yeah, part of the human experience. So yeah, it's something I love. Yeah.
Lex, did you want to jump into something real quick? Did I hear you?
I was just going to quickly say, what I particularly like about the Instagram feed is, for me, I mean, I'm sure all of us, our feed is basically bearded middle-aged men with heavy denim and turn-ups. And then we get to one of your posts and it'll be like some young dude from LA who's done some wild bleached denim or some crazy stuff. And I'm always like you, slightly torn on denim, because I personally kind of wear a lot of heritage, quite classic. But then, of course, I teach at fashion school where, you know, the kids come up with some bonkers ideas, but I absolutely love it. They come up with this kind of like wild, crazy, creative, not always particularly wearable stuff, but I just love the creativity that of it as well. And there's always this kind of this juxtaposition between me as kind of a designer, what I would design and what I would wear, but the kind of things I love seeing other people wear. And I think you communicate that really well. So that
thank you. But that's exactly it. You nailed it. It just get excited by creativity. And it's just like being into art or into music, you know. We don't have to love Charlie XCX, but, you know, you can't not acknowledge that she has moved a generation. And like, we were younger once. I mean, I don't want to like, you know, be too negative, like we're all old farts at this point, but you know, I think that's the hard thing about getting older, because you just realize that you're not part of that conversation. But I love to kind of just at least still celebrate those people. And I was a student once. Oh my God. When I was a student, I remember going through a Union Jack phase, and I had Union Jack short shorts, very, very short shorts, with Def Leppard shorts. They had like the Def Leppard logo on them from a charity shop. And then I had like a t-shirt with a Union Jack on. I was wearing a tea towel as a fucking headscarf. Like,
amazing.
You know,
where are these photos?
I have them. Yeah, I have a Polaroid of me and my friend.
You should post them on your account. Be like, yo, this is some OG style.
I definitely bought all kinds of weird shit, but I definitely remember the Union Jack phase, and I don't know why. But like, yeah, students are, and well, young people. I sound really old when I say this, but I just think, young, like people who were kind of. I heard this fact recently that was about, you know, when teenagers like say are on the bus and they're being particularly loud. This is ages ago that I read it, so it's not going to sound very factual at all. But I read that it was because when we're like finding ourselves and finding who we are, we kind of like, we go through this phase where we're a bit more outlandish, we're a bit more expressive, and we're just physically louder as well, because we're kind of finding our voice. And our confidence as well. And I think dress is the same. I feel like a lot of young fashion students, like, it's just amazing and wild what they put on. And that stuff, it can filter into like feed the next thing. And I think that's amazing. I also think with social media now, you know, we used to be in a point like when I grew up where, you know, you'd have to work for a fashion house, and you'd be on a shit wage for like 16-hour days for days on end, and you might get hired, you might not, you just, you know, being paid nothing. And it was the only real way to work your way up. And now I like the fact that it's much more democratized. And if you want to make something, and even if you're not fashion trained, if you couldn't afford to go to fashion school, you can just make it and you can put it up there, and you might find someone who's like, I dig that. And I think that is a really lovely thing. So for all of its faults that that social media has brought us, that is something that, I mean, it's made my job so much easier. I just have to pick up my phone and I'm like, okay, that's what's next. Okay, cool. It helps a lot. And it's great for them as well, because I feel like there's a lot of, like Paradox Paris. I don't know if they would have, I don't really know enough about how they started, but they have become huge. And like Proleta Riart is a really good example of that. Like, he's the guy who used to be at Capital, and he did all of that amazing overwork borrow stuff at Capital years and years ago. I guess when Capital first started doing it, don't quote me on that, but he was definitely instrumental. And then for whatever reason, maybe he just got sick of working for another dude, or maybe he just wanted a lifestyle change, but then he started his own thing. And now, it's like direct to, ASAP Rocky. He's just clothing like huge stars. And I just don't think, that wouldn't have happened without social media. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. One thing that sticks out in my mind is there's an account I think you posted of like this guy who will like cut holes in garments and then have like leather hands coming out of them, or like extra arms. I forgot who it was, but I love seeing your discoveries, and I hope.
I think I know who you mean. There's a dude, and he had these. It was like almost like gloves. I think I don't remember his name. Yeah, absolutely unhinged.
Yeah,
can't remember. Cool. Yeah, but like fun. Yeah, like if you're going through Instagram, sometimes you just let's have a look at some jeans with some weird gloves coming out. Why not? Yeah. Totally.
Well, on that note, probably a good time to wrap up, because I know you've got a busy Sunday ahead of you still, but I guess for all of our listeners or watchers, like, get your hands on Denim Dudes while you can. Get your hand on the second book, Dudes, aka Denim Dudettes, while you can.
Yeah.
And then Amy, please keep us connected to all the interesting things happening out there that relate to indigo and denim and all that fun stuff. And keep the pulse going for us, because like we're not cool like you are. So.
I'm not cool either, but I sure as hell love to post about it. So yeah, you can be sure I will continue.
Awesome.
So nice to chat to you guys.
Thank you so much for your time. I know this is a long time getting organized.
Absolute pleasure.
But,
yeah, awesome. Have a lovely evening, UK posse. And have a good rest of your day, David.
Cool, awesome. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Lex. Thanks, Andy. Speak to you all soon. All right.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. It's David from the future. Just wanted to add a little outro at the end. Amy and I realized that we forgot to mention the fact that denimdudes.com has just launched a brand new website, and they've got a really cool new subscription model where you can access to like different tiers of their trend forecasting system. So in addition to their Instagram, Denim Dudes, make sure you check out their website as well. Thanks, everybody. Bye.